Hello, welcome. My name is Jo, and today we are going to do a quarterly check-in on my annual goals. So I did not set quarterly goals this year, but I did do annual ones, and I think that a quarterly check-in and kind of adjustment of the goals completely makes sense. The first one is that I did want to finish my Spanish-speaking world reading challenge, which is reading a book in English and a book in Spanish from every country in the Spanish-speaking world. So currently I have read 5 countries in English and 4.5 countries in Spanish. I am halfway through my Chilean selection in Spanish, but I had done multiple of these already before the year started, so I've really only read 2 or 3, I think, this year. I think that this is going okay. It will definitely be something I will probably try to focus a little bit more on later in the year. I had the idea to possibly listen to all of the Game of Thrones books, and this one is kind of on hold. So I listened to about half or a little bit more than half of the first Game of Thrones book, and these are like 30 to 40 hour audiobooks. So I did let it go back to the library when my library loan was up, and I still may do more of this later, but it's definitely not a big priority for me. Similarly, I did have a goal of kind of working on this classics bingo card, and I have not done anything on this, and I'm not sure if I will. Once I looked at it more closely, most of the ones left on the card are ones that I either have not read in English or didn't really love in English, like 1984 is on there, and I didn't like that really when I read it in English, although that was in high school, so I should maybe give it another chance. But, if I'm going to read something for the first time in Spanish, I want it to be something written in Spanish, if that makes sense. Like, I'm fine with rereading things that I read first in English in Spanish, because then it's, reinforcing, it makes it more comprehensible for me. So I don't know. The jury is out on this one. I would still like to re-listen to more classics in Spanish, though. I also had kind of a loose goal of reading 10,000 pages total, not necessarily this year, but reaching 10,000 pages read in Spanish, and I believe, if I remember correctly, I was at about 3,000 when the year started, and of the books that I have finished, I am now at about 4,500, and that doesn't include books that I am currently reading, so I imagine that will be somewhere around 5,000, 5,200 maybe once I finish the books that I am currently reading in Spanish. That one is potentially on its way. I could probably be doing a little bit more. And similarly, I had a goal to read 50 books this year in Spanish. I have read 9 so far, and I have 4 in progress in Spanish. So the 9 is not on target to reach 50, but the 13 would be, so 12 or 13 would be on target. I did read a almost 700 page book in Spanish first thing this year. If that had been 2 or 3 books instead, we would be on target. So I wanted to get 700 hours in Spanish. In January, I had 60.5 hours. In February, I had 101 hours. And March, it is not the end of March yet while I'm filming this, but so far I have 86 hours, and if I average that out over the amount of days so far in the month and kind of do a projection, if everything continues as it is now, I will have 106 hours at the end of this month. So we are well on our way to 700 hours. Nothing concerning here. I wanted to watch some more classic or critically acclaimed Spanish films, maybe go through some kind of top 50 of all time Spanish films or something like that. And I haven't specifically done that because they're actually kind of difficult to find streaming, most of the ones that would be on those kinds of lists. But what I have done is get a subscription to a Spanish film streaming site. It's called Filmin, and I have started watching some films from there. I've watched 3 Goya nominees or winners from the past few years, so those would be kind of award films in Spain. So I think this is happening, maybe not in exactly the way that I anticipated, but it is happening. And actually, same with the next goal. I had a goal of kind of reading through a Spanish grammar book that I have, which I can't show you because it's part of the informal tripod that you are located on. But I did want to kind of start informally reviewing grammar, and I actually just have kind of started formally reviewing grammar. So not exactly what I had in mind, but I think the underlying purpose of the goal is being met. So I feel really good about how Spanish is going. Those were all of the kind of projects that I had put forth for potential use at the beginning of this year. And so I feel like all of those are going pretty well, or if they are not, it is because kind of my priorities have shifted. I do have some kind of new goals or goal adjustments based on how things have been going in Spanish. So the biggest one would be that I do want to change the 700 hours to 1,000 hours. So I should be able to reach 1,000 hours in Spanish this year if things go, the way that they are going. Spontaneous battery death. I would like to get 100 hours every month. As a matter of fact, I would kind of like to start inching up from there. So that was kind of my goal for this month. I reached 100 hours for the first time in February in a month, and so my goal for March was kind of 105 hours, and then if I could get 110 hours next month, I think that will eventually start being difficult to do, but possibly not if I'm able to listen more at work and that sort of thing while I'm doing just, mundane tasks. We'll see how it goes. But anyway, I would like to start studying with the aim of eventually taking the DELE exam. Again, this was a goal last year, I think, that I abandoned very early in the year. I think I was not even remotely ready for it at the time. I don't think I'm ready for it now either. Like, I want to take the B2 exam, and I am definitely grammar-wise kind of a weak A2, I think. So it is going to take quite a bit to build up specifically the kind of skills that would be required for an exam like that, because it's not like this is informal use, which is most of what I am exposed to. Definitely things that I will have to specifically prepare for and obviously dedicate a lot of time to grammar. And I don't want to make it kind of a really intense experience, if that makes sense. Like, I do not want to have to cram for an exam like this. So I did order textbooks. They have not come yet, but for the A2 DELE, the B1, and the B2. And so I want to just kind of start working through all of them and get kind of that foundation. That is a big shift in focus from kind of what I was thinking at the beginning of this year, but I am actually excited about it. And lastly, I did kind of want to do some like translation exercises. I use quotation marks because they're not really exercises in a formal sense. I just want to kind of translate portions, paragraphs of things that I'm reading in Spanish into English, kind of just to make sure that I am fully understanding the nuances of what I'm reading. I think something that can a hazard of working on your own and reading things totally on your own is that you can assume that you understand something because it makes sense. And you might be making sense out of it in a way that it wasn't necessarily intended to be. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that necessarily, as long as you, at some point, uncover what that actually means. I don't want to spend, enormous amounts of time on this, but it is something that I want to do a little bit more. And I have just done it once so far, but I think, maybe every couple weeks doing something like that. And I do actually enjoy it. Translation is something that I am very, very interested and potentially interested in pursuing in the future. So this, serves multiple purposes for me, and hopefully it will be something that will not turn into a chore, kind of like, maybe flashcards or grammar drills might turn into for me. So yeah, I think overall I am actually thrilled with how my Spanish is going. I think language learning is one of those things where the more you know, the more you know that you don't know. And I definitely am at that phase where I am realizing how much I do not know in Spanish. And so that can be kind of overwhelming and a little bit of a bummer at times. But overall, I'm kind of seeing the path forward, I think, much more clearly than I have at certain times in the past. And I am really, really enjoying it so much. And if you had told me like 60 hours in January was amazing for me, that was my best month so far, I think. And then to just immediately almost double that in February was amazing and absolutely wonderful. And just truly changing the game for me. And I think changing my brain at a much faster rate than it has in the past. So that is great. I love that. And I can't wait to see what the rest of the year holds. But I feel like we are already on a very good trajectory. So that has been my update for my annual goals. Let me know in the comments how your language learning is going. If you have made any goals or projects or challenges, how you feel like they're going, if you've made any changes, whatever. And I will see you in the next video.